Welcome back to the Desk Talk Podcast with your hosts, Trent Werner and Alex Magala, bringing you weekly episodes talking business, personal development, and all things real estate. Let's do it! Welcome back to the desk. Let's talk. Today, Alex and I are talking about what it's like to be a real-life home buyer. Alex himself is going through the process, and he's going to share with you some of the fun times like of buying a home. Alex, tell us about your home buying process.
Yeah.
All of
it's
it.
probably the most unconventional way to buy a house. I don't recommend it to anyone, but I put myself in a big pickle in the fact that I will be homeless 2/28. So we're recording this on the 2nd of February. So in 26 days, I will be homeless. And yeah, so I got to buy a house is essentially what my first quick flip was to figuring out this solution to my problem. So I went out and worked my way through getting pre-approved. Since I work for a mortgage company, I obviously know how to do that, so it's not like a big question for me. It's not a process that I was kind of afraid of.
How long did that take?
I mean, I started on a Friday. So I started Friday at 2 or 3 p.m. is when I started telling you, I think I should probably get pre-approved because we can't even go see homes.
Mm-hmm.
And she, that loan officer, the corporate loan officer that I'm working with, they're in Wisconsin. So obviously, what is that? I think it's 2 hours ahead. I think that's what Harlan was. 2 hours ahead. And she took off, obviously, in an hour. So she got all my information and then was like, I'll get to it Monday morning. I'll get it to you. So we got it all that. So if it weren't for the weekend, it's just a 1-day turn time. So wouldn't have been too bad. 1 day's got it. And yeah, so what's today? Tuesday? Monday we started looking, and of the 8 properties that we found, all of them were in contract. Or no, of the 8 that were okay, maybe these are possibilities, there was 3 that were these are solid and I want them. Gone. All of them were gone. We went to baseball practice, coach, all of them were gone probably by that point. And I was thinking about driving down after practice to go look at them, just even scope them out. And so it's just to be on the lending side and to be working with people and getting them pre-approved and just kind of cheering them on from the sidelines and not doing it myself in this environment, I feel really hard for everyone out there, big time. Holy hell, it's stressful. It's not something where I want this to be someone's first time home buying experience. It's just gosh, I can see why everyone's stressed out, but I think the biggest thing is to focus on removing that emotion from kind of everything that is going on. So it's what I'm trying to do is just pull all my emotion out of it behind it. It's oh my God, I know I'm pressured with time. I know I've got to do this. Everything that's kind of pushing me to do it, and I'm trying to pull it away from it and really look at everything and figure it out and make sure that it makes sense. I mean, we went and looked at one today, and solid opportunity. It's just the 3 that we saw that I was those are money, That's where it's once you find one where you're well, I really like that, I can see how these people get so hung up on it and can't really go and look at other ones and stray away from it because they're that was one I fell in love with, It's those 2, that one in Kaiser and the one in Woodburn, were dialed. Mm-hmm. Perfect. And kind of just lost them. So it's just going through the process is a lot more stressful, that's for sure. And yeah, I feel for everyone that's going through right now. And it's just with where rates are going, still going down at this point, when people are getting pre-approved lower and lower, it's just there's more and more and more and more buyers.
Okay, so let's talk about what your criteria is so everyone knows.
So there's kind of two sides to my criteria. There's the side of me that is I'm going to go south and I'm going to look at property. So I'm looking something with acreages, or not acreages, something with acreage. Doesn't really need to be too great of a home, something that I could fix up, do some work on. The only shitty thing is most of these properties, manufactured homes, can't get those conventional finance. So that's a big kind of deterrent to that area. And so it's just I've got some friends that are asking, agents down there trying to figure it out and see if there's anything or if there's any sellers that were there and could possibly convince them. And then up here, kind of closer to the Portland area where I work, it's not really much requirements other than the fact that at least 2 bedrooms. Needs to have a little bit of a yard because, like, my dogs, you know, I'm not trying to go from an apartment to another apartment where my dogs have to sit inside all day and I let them out to go to the bathroom on a leash. It's the most annoying thing ever. So that's pretty much it. I'm not, because I know long term, like, where I'm going. This is just a solid, and, like, you could fill it with as much concrete speed bump as you can imagine. Like, my car's axles are getting broken going over the speed bump, but I'm putting it back together and we're going to figure it out because this was not in my plan at all. It's like 7 months way too early for me. So we're figuring it out. We're going to get through it, but I'm kind of just whatever comes up. Like, I would love to end up with like 40 acres and have a house that I could do some stuff on the property and my dogs just get to run around on. Be amazing. But I'd also love like something up here where, you know, I could rent out a room, I could easily afford the mortgage, and long term I could hold it as a rental. If I'm going down south like immediately, that's going to be like a property that's, you know, I don't even care about the house because long term I know I'm going to eventually tear it down and build like my dream home or something on it, you know. It's going to be something that it's property that I'll have for a long time, or property that I could section off once land starts to become more expensive. So it's just like thinking in 2 different minds is a little bit difficult too, but that's kind of like the only way to think it at this point. There's so few out there.
So then now talk to me about if you do decide to go farther out, what that means for work stuff and commute. Because I know a lot of people, when they're looking for a house, they're trying to find something that's convenient for their family, their work, their kids' school, activities, that kind of thing. And so a lot of people use location as a very key piece to their criteria or their search.
Yeah, I'm a single man, so I don't have anything. I'm married to my dogs is pretty much it. Like you heard right there, the biggest requirement that's kind of in my search is something for my dogs, because
you're buying a property for your dogs.
If I'm out and about, like I at least want them to not be inside, like they've lived their past 2-3 years. So yeah, I'm single. I don't have like the family requirement. My mortgage position allows me to work from home. I can do most of my stuff remote. If I need to have meetings with someone in person, if I need to hand deliver documents, whatever it may be, you know, I'm not afraid to jump in my Corolla that's got great gas mileage. Shout out Toyota.
No free ads.
And drive up here, you know. It's advertising budget because my face is on my car, so we're getting all the way up there and showing faces some more. But I'm not too worried about that because, you know, here's the commitment. The biggest thing, too, is like the commitment with this podcast and, like, other things that I'm doing. Like, I can't move home. Moving home's not feasible. That's going to kill a bunch of stuff that I'm trying to, like, run up on this side of town. So it's just, like, there's a lot that's trying to keep me up here. But at the same time, going 30 minutes south 45 minutes south isn't going to kill me because 2 times a week commuting in isn't bad, especially with the fact that what I know long-term I can do with property.
Okay, and then you keep talking long-term. So what are the chances that you stay in the first property that you purchase long-term?
That's the thing. I mean, if it's up here, I'm not going to live in it too long. If it's down there, no matter what, I'm holding on to the property that I'm buying.
Primary residence, though.
Primary residence, that's the thing, is if it's up here, it'll be a primary for 2 years max, and then I'll probably refinance into an investment and go and find something else because it's not something I want to live in long term. If it's down south, same thing. It's going to be something that I won't refinance, turn into an investment, or really do much with for a long time because I'm just going to stack up cash to the point where then I can go and build my dream home on it. Long term, why I keep saying long term is because I know where I want to be and what I want in my portfolio, and it's a ton of real estate, but it's also a ton of real estate not centered just in Oregon. It's centered in Nevada, it's centered in Arizona, it's centered in places where I'm licensed to do business and I'm licensed and have friends where it's just like also golf. That's a big thing, Arizona. So it's just long term is kind of where I'm at always. Like I said, I didn't think in a month I'd have this speed bump where all of a sudden I'm homeless, but, you know, I'm still focused 5 years from now but I'm picking up the pieces and know that like my car's going to still get there in 5 years. It's just I have to put it together quickly here and keep my thought long term. It'll never change. Yeah, it'll never change that way. I was very short term focused, but now that I've flipped it and been long term focused, it's just like I know day by day what I'm doing is going to get me to my goals. And yeah, it's a speed bump, but so what? Improvise and adapt, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Whether it's a property that I'm going to buy and have acreage, or I'm going to buy and turn it into investment property, it's just what it is I talked about this so much. I've been talking about this since I don't know what, December, November. I've been saying I want to buy property, this, that. I think, I even talked to Brian McCormick. We had him on the podcast about saving money, this stuff for it. It's just, I've been talking about it a long time. And I think this is what just kind of kicked me in the butt and pushed me to do it. So it's something where it's it's a blessing in disguise. A lot of people could be like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. But it's a blessing in disguise at the same time for me. So,
because it could honestly, and it will honestly get you into, owning real estate sooner.
Yeah.
This whole hiccup that you're dealing with.
It's 7 months earlier. It's probably a whole year earlier. And that's amazing. That's something I've preached on this podcast a long time, and now that everyone's figuring it out, I don't own my own real estate. I've rented living in Portland. It's just single man. It's a little bit harder when you have a team. You can go out and really go after things together. Versus me, it's a lot harder to qualify. I bounced around jobs right off of college, so income wise, it's a little bit harder. And now that it's kicking me in the butt, it's okay, let's get it done, and then put myself in a position where 2 years, a year, whether it's up here, no matter what, whether it's up here or down there, in 2 years I'll probably end up refinancing or doing something and pulling cash out. In 2 years I'll have more income that I can qualify. That's the thing too, is side hustles, things that I've started. You can't go out and qualify it. What I qualify with on income base is far less than what I truly take home. Because a lot of my income can't qualify right now. It's not 2 years, so it's just it's a little bit harder. And so that's the thing is for people, if you're trying to start something and use it to help you buy a house, know that you're gonna need at least a year, if not 2, especially if it's self-employment stuff. It's 2 years minimum. So that goes into qualifying, and I knew that, and that's why I was okay, well, I know it's going to be a lot harder for me to qualify than if I had this income, but make it work. So 2 years, I'll have that income, and I'll be able to kind of go out and potentially find a better primary. Maybe it's not a primary here, maybe it's an investment property in Nevada. I don't really know, but I know that I'll have my first property here, and then long term, figure out the plan from there. Obviously, the goals are going to change because all of a sudden now I'm throwing property in way sooner than I thought. Tax purposes, I'm going to get more money, and it's just figuring out everything that is going to change in a month's time when I didn't plan for it to.
So thinking long term then, if you do want to have a real estate portfolio, wouldn't you want to lean more towards something that you can have as a rental? I feel we've done it a couple times, but it's hard to rent out 30 acres.
Oh yeah, no doubt. But
you could lease the land and do that kind of stuff.
Either way, essentially, either way, it's going to fall out to be the same kind of what I'm going to do. Whether it's I have acreage or I have a room to rent, it's going to be the same thing. If I have acreage, land is going to be leased back for something, and I don't know what it is, but I'll figure it out because I know that there's going to be something. People want land for everything, whether that's even just to store their toys out there on. People need something, and if it's $500 a month, $1,000 a month, that's still offsetting my mortgage cost. So it's just anything that's going to offset that mortgage cost and then get me in the position where in 2 years, like I said, I can take that, save up a ton of cash because it's, I'm not putting in $2,000 into my mortgage. I'm only putting in $1,000, so I can keep that $1,000, put it into next house fund, whatever it may be, have $24,000 to go and put in 2 years into the next house. It's just and all the extra income, I'll be able to qualify for a lot more, a better primary and a better spot, and I won't have to be in the position I am. I'll have the ammunition. Right now I don't really have power. I'm kind of at mercy to every seller because I have 26 days. So it's just like you kind of want to set yourself up to have power. And right now I did not set myself up to have power. I kind of took away a lot of my power because I have to do it so quick. I don't have much time to think and process it and put the numbers to the paper and figure it out and feel people out. It's just like we talked about today. It's like we got to start no showing, just throwing offers at these properties to even like have a fighting chance.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, didn't set myself up for the best prime buying opportunity.
I think it's hard too because we are in such a competitive market, especially in the price point that, like you said earlier, you see all these houses and 5 hours later they're pending, if not sooner, and with multiple offers. I told you guys before we started, another agent in our office had an offer that he submitted that was $60,000 over asking and got beat, which is
absurd,
crazy.
Yeah, and that's a limit. Like I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's not worth it in my eyes. I'm not that desperate to buy the house that I'm gonna fight to go that far over. It's like we'll go and look at a property that needs a little extra TLC that's been on the market for a little bit longer and people aren't interested in.
And I think that is a huge tip because that's what Robin and I are doing. That's what I said to you before the podcast. If you are able to go for a property that needs a little cosmetic love, has good bones, in a good area that you like, you're going to have a lot less competition than the one that's already done to the nines that someone already renovated or is somewhat updated. Yep. If you can find a cosmetic updater, I don't want to say fixer because it's not a fixer, a cosmetic updater that you can buy, you're going to have a lot less competition in a competitive time, and you will be able to take advantage of the renovations and forcing the appreciation and reap the benefits of the value that you have added because the person that sold it to you didn't add it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like the property that we went and looked at, appliances, paint maybe outside, change the color, do some landscaping, a little bit, not too much, and you're probably talking 15 to 20. Like you're talking it's a 4 in front of the sales price versus a 3.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So that's where it's just like it's a solid property. It's like if that's the only one that's out there, then yeah, we're gonna have to do something with it. But it's like, okay, we know we have that one. We can throw an offer in the table and hope that, you know, every single day there's like new ones that are coming online. That's like the thing is I'll sit there at my computer and just refresh Zillow and it's like newest ones. But I was telling Trent, I looked at one last night and before we even looked on the arm list or anything, I told him, I was like, this one is gotta have a bajillion offers. I think it was Hyde Street or whatever.
I think it had 20.
Yeah, it was like, it was 3 or 4 hours on Zillow. It had like 5K views and like 400 saves. And I was just like, dude, this one, there's no chance. And when we first looked at it, I was like, dude, this is so money. Like the couch in here, the setup, it's open, it's perfect. Yeah, and it's just like you can kind of tell like what properties are going to be ones that where you're just like you're probably not going to have a fighting chance if you're in a position like I am. You know, if you're in a position like all these other people where cash offers that can go way over, I mean, whatever their situation, that's where it's like knowing your competition. Like since I work in this industry and I kind of know what's out there, I kind of know my competition versus, you know, when I'm working with a client, they're not going to really know kind of what's out there. So that's where I'm trying to help them and understand it. And now that I'm personally going through it, it's like I'm going to be able to provide a lot more value to these people and be like, oh, I get it. Like, I get it. Believe me. It's a nightmare out there right now. And it's not even just here in the Portland market. Like, go down to Reno. Super bad down there. I mean, it's pretty much the entire U.S.
Yeah, the national inventory is crazy low right
now. It's like the whole U.S. So it's just like wherever you may be listening from, it could pertain. It's probably going to pertain to your market.
Yeah, I saw an infographic, social media guy. I saw an infographic the other day, and I think there was like 6 states where there's less buyers than like less buyer influx than seller influx or something like that. Only 6 states. And they were Midwest states where real estate's like $15 for an acre.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, those are kind of the markets that you would assume would have those kind of numbers, which is absurd. Now, I have one other question for you. Since you are in kind of this pickle that we talked about, do you feel, and obviously there's added pressure because of everything going on, do you feel like you are not rushing a decision, but you're kind of like under the gun to make a decision instead of being able to find a house that like, oh yeah, I like this kitchen or I like this bathroom, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's very different for like these questions for someone who isn't super real estate minded, works in the industry, kind of like loves real estate, is going to preach real estate for his whole life. It's going to be far different than, you know, if someone's against it. It's going to be their one time. They're only going to buy one home in their life. You know, for me, it's like I understand that it's going to be like a 1 to 2 year. It's like I'm living in an apartment. I can do it. You know, it's not that bad. If it's really crappy, I can fix it up, make it better, get out of there. It's just, yeah, there's pressure, but at the same time, I don't, like I said, when we were looking at the house, it's just like, it doesn't scream at me, so it's not like I want to just jump down the throat and make an offer. So it's just like, let's feel them out. Like, I don't want to disrespect homeowners and come in with just a terribly low offer.
Which is okay.
It is okay. It's just,
It's totally okay.
at the same time, yeah, long term, my business, I really don't want someone to figure out that I'm offering on their house and I'm a mortgage person and I'm like $100K under.
Pause. When you submit the offer, you say, I'm an investor and I ran my numbers and this is an offer that works with my numbers.
There you go.
I'm not trying to disrespect anyone. I'm just submitting an offer that's according to my numbers. If you blame your numbers.
It matters what the agent says. That's what I'm saying. I don't make the offer. It's who your agent is and what they're going to say. That's why I even said it to Trent. I was just like, I really don't want to come in with a super low offer and make it fall back and look bad on you either. So it's just like, let's feel out these agents. But
I submitted an offer $250,000 under asking for a client one time.
Yeah, I mean, we'll figure it out. But it's an absolutely crazy market. And for me, yeah, I'm under the pressure to make a decision. But at the same time, I know that I kind of have time. You know, I have until at least the probably 24th, 25th of February to finally have like an offer accepted, because I have like the month of March, and if I can close at the end of month of March and retain possession, then I'll be all goody. So that's where it's like, I know I have some time where it's just like I'm not super rushed. You know, I have people out there looking, other agents where it's like they're trying to ground up to get a sale themselves. You know, it's just like it helps to kind of be connected in the industry. So for someone who, you know, probably doesn't have as many connections as like I have, it pairs well to talk with like an agent and make sure they're connected to be able to reach out and be like, hey, is there any like thing that like you guys have, any sellers that came off market that you can maybe talk to and convince them to come back on? You know, it's just like from all the way down in Salem to all the way up here, there's just people trying to figure out if there's anything that in that price point range that I gave them, like if they could even get a sale out of it. Because, you know, it's advantageous to kind of tell other people, like, hey, I'm trying to buy a house as well. Like, let me know if you know any other things. Like I told guy over at another real estate brokerage, and he was like, oh, I'm moving brokerages in like 2 weeks, and I'll have access to like 80 off-market deals. Like, let me know. And I was just, so it's just like, start to like tell everyone in your sphere like what you're doing, and you never know what could come up. I mean, there was that avenue. There was the other avenue of how could I maybe use like my business to help someone else out and get me into their home. So it's like the whole idea of like, who can I find out there? AKA, if you're listening to this, please contact me. If you're 62 years or older, like we can talk about a reverse mortgage and we can get you into a bigger or better home, or downsize and you pay half price and then I can buy your home from you. So it's just like trying to figure out like, how can we make this work? Like there's so many different ways to kind of get it to go. And it's just like, we can force fit it or we can like find that natural fit. And so it's just like, if we get to the numbers, we're going to have to force that puzzle piece in there. It's not going to fit well, but we'll make it work. We'll put a Band-Aid over it for a year or 2 years, and then we'll find that piece that fits. But right now it's just, I'm looking for the piece that fits, but you know, I have time.
I'm about to drop an absolute bomb of knowledge on you. You ready for it?
Mm-hmm.
If you are in a rush to buy a house, whether you want to buy a house or you need to buy a house quickly, whether you're moving states, you are
in my pickle,
in his pickle, in today's market right now, it is very common for occupied houses, so houses that you would be looking at that are occupied by the owners. The owners oftentimes are requesting an occupy after closing agreement, or a rent back, as it's called. That can be a pickle if you are in a rush. If you, like Alex's situation, if you can, need to close by the end of March, but that seller needs to go buy something else to live in, and they don't have the funds to write an offer that's not contingent upon the sale of this house, they are more than likely going to request a rent back. Now, if you're looking at properties and you're in a hurry, look for vacant ones. Have your agent talk to the listing agent and see if the sellers are going to need a rent back, because that can really throw off timelines if you're in a rush, especially in a competitive market.
Yeah, I mean,
So
if we
definitely
plan to
think
close
about that.
end of March and then I don't get it until like April, it's like I'm homeless for 15 days, whatever it is.
I can grab a tent from my parents' house if you need to borrow one.
Perfect. I'll join everyone downtown.
All right. That's Alex's home buying process. I'll get to share my story. Maybe I'll have Robin come on when we're buying our house later this year.
We should. Yeah.
Because she'll be green. That's the first time she's ever really done it. We could have Kyle come on. Maybe he could make a in front of the camera appearance.
Kyle. Yeah, no, it's I feel for everyone out there. Like, believe me, you've got a special place in my heart if you're going through the home buying process right now, because it's not fun. It's not fun, that's for sure. And that's the thing is, like, it's my goal to try and make it as fun as possible so that you fall in love with it, want to keep coming back, and, like, you get that you're so interested in investing and you want to do it here. It's just like, but right now, believe me, this is just a sour spot, and it's going to be a sour spot for everyone. Like, you're going to have to look past it.
You are experiencing the stressors that go into the current real estate market. All right. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Make sure you comment, subscribe, like it, share it, bop it, flick it, twist it,
punch it.
We're at the desk. We're done talking. We'll see you next week.
That's the end of today's episode. Thank you for tuning in. It truly means a lot to us. If you haven't already, please subscribe and share this with friends. This helps fuel the podcast and gets more and more guests on our show. Hey, go follow us on Instagram as well. Desk Talk Podcast. Go connect with Trent and I as well. We're on Instagram too, LinkedIn, you name it. Stay tuned for more episodes. Peace.